This segment of Delmarva Life is brought to you by Peninsula Regional Medical Center.
You know, we have learned so much this week about the importance of sleep and the impact it has on our health.
And just in case you missed any of it, here's a recap. We learned that lack of shut-eye can have an immediate effect on our health by making us more likely to catch a cold and more prone to memory problems. Long-term effects of little sleep include an increased risk of stroke, obesity, and even death.
We also learned that too much sleep, more than 9 hours, may increase our risk of heart disease. Our friends from Peninsula Regional Medical Center told us adults need about 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Now, while that number is higher for kids, depending on their age.
And speaking of our kids, we also learned how important it is to make sure they get a good night's rest. It restores their body and helps with memory and cognitive thinking. Nightmares are usually something kids will outgrow, and if your child has one, it's best to assure them that everything's okay and stay with them until they fall back asleep.
We also learned that we want to portray sleep as a positive behavior, because if kids look at sleep as a punishment, they're never going to want to go to bed.
And whether you're a child or an adult, we learned what happens when you visit a sleep lab in an effort to diagnose any sleeping problem. Jimmy was a cool sport, a good sport, getting wired up for us.
So we've learned all about sleep problems, and today we're focusing on sleep solutions. So joining us today to help are Linda Hurley, who's the director of Peninsula Sleep Waves at PRMC, and Teresa Shaver, who is the respiratory therapist with American Home Patient of Delmarva. Lady, thank you so much, both of you, for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Linda, we've been talking about problems, but the good news is there are solutions, especially for the most common sleep disorder,
Which is obstructive sleep apnea. It's the
Yeah.
one we see the most in the sleep lab, and it's so easy to treat. The treatment is just air.
Really?
Yes.
And Teresa, you're going to show us how you treat CPAP, or you're going to show us the CPAP. You're actually going to put it on Jimmy and
Yes.
show us, tell us what goes on.
Well, we set the units up. They come, this is an example of a unit here that gives the pressure, and you go through the sleep study to determine which pressure is good for you to keep that airway open. It's actually a pneumatic splint. It's air going into your airway, keeping that tissue lifted during the whole night's sleep. And we always add a humidification system to that unit.
So in the sleep lab, we diagnose the sleep disorder, and then we bring you back for a second night to find out what pressure is correct for you. It's what amount of air to push. It's different for everybody.
So it's a process.
Okay, well, I'm ready for
so
nap,
go
so-
ahead and hook him up.
Right.
And it's interesting, I'm looking at this and I'm wondering, can you really sleep with this apparatus around your head?
It takes a little getting used to, but yes, absolutely you can.
And Jimmy, you look great.
Thanks.
I can assure you that I have my husband's permission to talk about him. He has obstructive sleep apnea, and he was keeping me awake a lot.
Yeah.
And as soon as he got his CPAP, I woke up in the middle of the night. I thought he wasn't there. The
Really?
machine is completely quiet.
I'm going to turn it
he's
on.
not
Okay.
snoring.
You said you were going to turn it on. It's on?
It's
It
on.
is on. See, that's just how quiet it is. I don't hear a thing. Do you hear anything, Jimmy?
Not a thing, no. Oh, it does, but it makes it talk real funny because of the positive pressure. That's interesting. You talk.
Now, when you have someone who uses a CPAP, do they have to wear it the rest of their life?
Generally they do. Sometimes if it's weight related and they lose weight, they can come off of it, yes.
Really? So it's very important to get treated, isn't it?
It's really important to get treated, because if you have, your disease process will just continue. If you are overweight, it's almost impossible to lose weight if you have sleep apnea because of the hormonal imbalance, because you're continually, it's like having short sleep except worse. You sleep less because your sleep is continually interrupted, but in that interruption your blood pressure's up, your heart rate is up, your stress level is up, your cortisol is up, you gain belly fat, you have an adrenaline shot, you have a sugar shot so you can run from the tiger, but then you just go back to sleep.
Are there people who are more prone to sleep apnea?
Yes, people that are overweight, people that have thick necks. Men tend to have it more than women. That doesn't preclude women at all. An older age, being over 55 or even 40. Ex-football players, believe it or not, the jocks, the guys that lifted weights with their neck, they have more tissue in their neck. So as you get older, that tissue relaxes into your airway, collapses into your airway while you're asleep. Tends to be worse while you're laying on your back, but not always. I mean, almost always, but just that's not always the only time there's a problem. So.
Now, Jimmy, how you doing over there?
I'm doing good, and,
Yeah?
and I've noticed that it tends to make you breathe deeper, which is a good thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
That's nice. Okay, so now we're talking about sleep solutions. Some people actually turn to sleep aids, rather. And we had a viewer actually asked a question, wanted to know that can a person get addicted to sleep aids? And if so, how do you wean yourself off of them?
I'm not sure. That's a discussion probably to have with your physician, but you can become dependent on them, at least psychologically. And the problem with sleep aids is that it will help you get to sleep, but it also, if you have sleep apnea, sleep aids will make it worse because they're central nervous system depressants, and central nervous system depressants relax your airway. So it tends to make sleep apnea worse.
And there are different types of masks. There's the full face, there's pillows, and then when we have on Jimmy is a nasal mask. Of course, it's pink, but they're making the headgears for women. So some of them are pink for women.
In fact, this machine even comes in pink now.
Oh, okay. Yes. What about natural sleep solutions?
One would be, I mean, if you're having trouble falling asleep, your sleep habits, like chamomile tea, maybe a cup of hot milk. If you wake up in the middle of the night, which is very common, you have trouble falling back to sleep, a cup of warm milk. Actually, I've heard that it doesn't matter the temperature for the milk, but milk, anything relaxing. Get out of bed. If after 15 minutes you're not back to sleep, get out of bed, read a book, don't clean the house, don't watch television, don't get on the computer.
What about alcohol? Can you just get a glass of wine or maybe do a shot of something, go to sleep?
It might help you get to sleep, but it will disrupt your sleep later.
Really? Okay, so alcohol, not a good idea.
No, because your blood sugar changes and the blood sugar shift will wake you up.
You said if we have trouble staying asleep, get up.
Get up. After 15 minutes, if you're not back to sleep, get up, do something relaxing, and then try again.
All right, I'm going to check on Jimmy one more time.
Don't watch the clock.
Don't watch the clock, right. Oh, Jimmy? It's working. Ladies, thank you so much for Jimmy. You're going to have to wake up and do the rest of the show.
This is great.
And if you would like to read more from PRMC about how to get a better night's rest, go to delmarvalife.com and click on the show tab. Well, we can't emphasize enough how important sleep is to our bodies. As we learned earlier, sleep deprivation can contribute to all too common chronic health solutions. Then there are those health problems that are not common at all. Still ahead on Delmarva Life, four-time Emmy-nominated actress Patricia Richardson made us smile as Jill Taylor on the hit show Home Improvement. She also watched her father lose a battle to a rare disorder. Patricia joins us next to talk about how she's helping others get through tough times like the ones she endured. Another woman who helped others through tough times, Dorchester County native Harriet Tubman. We see how markers put up around Delmarva are bringing some of her stories to life. Delmarva Life, we'll be right back.